Buenos días. Es un alto placer tenerlos a ustedes en esta mañana celebrando uno de los descubrimientos más importantes de arqueología en los últimos 50 años. Estoy comenzando en castellano, pero en un momento vamos a irnos al inglés. Es importante entender que este grupo es selecto. Hemos pensado en ustedes y tratando de darles una introducción a todo el día que vamos a tener aquí en el campus. Así que es un placer para mí tener a las 3 estrellas de esta mañana. Tenemos a Marcela Zapata Mesa, licenciada en Arqueología de la Escuela Nacional de Antropología e Historia, graduada con mención honorífica, así que hay que tener cuidado. No sabía eso de honor. Tenemos también con nosotros en esta mañana la segunda arqueóloga, que es especial. Bueno, las tres son especiales, ¿verdad? Nuestra arqueóloga Rosaura Sanz Rincón, licenciada en Comunicación por la Universidad de Anáhuac, México Sur. Actualmente estudia la maestría en Humanidades en la misma universidad. Y también estudió el curso en la línea de arqueología de la, bueno, lo dice en inglés, ¿verdad? Archaeology of the Land of Bible, de la Universidad de Oxford. Así que estamos en Oxford. Ay, que ya me siento muy preocupado, ¿no? Y luego tenemos a a Andrea Garza Díaz Barriga, licenciada en Arqueología por parte de la Escuela Nacional de Antropología e Historia, graduada con mención honorífica. Aquí están todos llenos de honores, ¿verdad? En fin, vamos a decir más de ellas en el día de hoy, pero están aquí presentes para hacer una pequeña presentación. Pero antes de eso, nuestro decano. Before there is a presentation by our guest, we have our dean, our interim dean, who, if it wasn't because of him, we would not be here today. So all of the stress factors that we have today, all the stress marks and all of the issues are due to this one man who, when he saw the discovery that was taking place in the Holy Land, he says, we have to have him. And so because of him, we are able to enjoy this wonderful morning and the full day and the tractor. Yes, you can. Yeah, we are in construction here. Also with us today, we have the Andrés Webster Enestrosa del Consulado General de México, y le damos a él la bienvenida. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for being with us this morning, by all means. And now I'd like to turn this over to our dean, who will be speaking a few words, and archaeology is in his heart. He, I believe, is an archaeologist at heart. We're proud to have him. He's been serving as interim dean for this year and the next year as well. And some of us are making bets that he needs to stay here forever. But that's another discussion altogether. Please help me welcome our dean as he comes, Robert Duke, Dr. Robert Duke.
Well, thank you so much for being here. About this time last year, I was asked to be the interim dean for this coming year. And last May, I was in Israel with a group of APU alumni, faculty, and students. And we spent about a half hour to an hour at Magdala, that we're going to hear a lot more about later. And the idea came to me that particularly since we have a very wonderful Spanish language MDiv and pastoral studies program here, that we could have a very powerful day learning about archaeology from people who excavate, who can speak to us in Spanish. And I apologize this morning that my 4 years of high school Spanish did not provide me the language abilities to speak this morning in Spanish. My high school Spanish teacher taught us 3 things: piñata, fiesta, and siesta. I mean, that's basically, it is one where if we want to switch gears and speak Hebrew, let's go. Let's have fun. No. So I just want to briefly talk about why APU is interested in archaeology and why this is very organic for us to have this New Testament focus today at the site of Magdala. But here at our university, we have our own archaeological dig, but we also are one of the only universities in the world that has Dead Sea Scroll fragments. So I'll talk about that briefly here. So in our special collections on our other campus, we have 5 fragments from the Dead Sea. In 1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. I will often say it's the greatest archaeological discovery ever. My Egyptian colleagues will say King Tut's tomb was more important, but we can go back and forth on that. But just briefly, when we talk about Dead Sea Scrolls, we're talking basically very fragmentary material. It really is almost a scholarly dishonesty to talk about Dead Sea Scrolls because there are actually very few that are full scrolls. Most of them are pieces of material just like this. So Deuteronomy 8 here in this fragment, that's natural light, and here's infrared. This one is significant for us in a Christian context because this is the passage where it says, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And this is now one of the earliest examples or the earliest remnants of that passage in Deuteronomy in Hebrew. And it's here at APU. Deuteronomy 27, this is one where it talks about Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, two of these locations that Joshua took the children of Israel into the land when they conquered the land. And this one is significant because it actually has a manuscript variant between the Masoretic text and the others. So just to give you a sense of what we're talking about, how archaeology and how text all come together. I have done archaeological excavations, but getting up at 4:35 in the morning and digging in 100-degree Fahrenheit weather is not something that is of interest to me, except for very short periods of time. Sitting in libraries looking at fragments, that's much more interesting to me. But this site, Mount Gerizim, it's been excavated many times. So a little fragment like this that has an alternate reading of Mount Gerizim, but here's the two mountains, Mount Gerizim on the left, Mount Ebal on the right. And to this day, this is still where the Samaritans will go and have their Passover events. So even this little fragment starts giving us insights into the interplay between Judaism, Samaritanism, say early Christianity, how manuscripts were passed down throughout history. So even this fragment, think of the woman at the well in John chapter 4, gives us really interesting insights. Daniel 5, the passage of the writing on the wall. So APU, when it comes to text, has had a quite interested passion about making sure we are creating and developing students that know the original languages and can work on this material. We also have our own archaeological dig in the north of Israel. We're going to hear a lot today about a dig that, we'll just use the numbers 2,000 years old. Our dig that APU has goes back to the Bronze and Iron Age, so parts of it dates back over 3,000 years. And it has actually been quite exciting, some of the discoveries. Now, I would encourage any of you that want to know more about our dig, you need to research this gentleman, Bob Mullins. He is our archaeologist here at APU. There's some online videos of him talking about our dig, and if we had more time today, I would show them. But our site is right up here in the far north, right on the border between Lebanon, Syria, and Israel. It's a site that has never been excavated until Hebrew University and APU put their shovels in the ground, mainly because it sits right here by Lebanon, Syria, and Israel, in that location, which can be somewhat a little tumultuous. But here is our site. It's a gorgeous site to dig, and it's one that has been built up over the years. Here is an aerial photograph from the 1950s. And there was actually part of this tell that was occupied up until the 1950s by a little Palestinian village. And part of our excavation is to go do some oral histories of people who lived here up till that time, to really humanize and bring everyone into the process of some site that is very significant. One of our most interesting and initial finds at this location right here, it was discovered because a tractor had come through and carved out a huge side of the hill, was this ring flask. This ring flask dates back to about 1200 BC. Biblically speaking, that's the time of the judges, Gideon, Samson, and so on. That's the time period of history we're talking about. But without a doubt, our most significant find so far is this hoard of silver hoop earrings, also dating back to about 1200 BC, that was found in a little jar that was in a room that had been abandoned many years ago. This is a group of us here at APU with our president. At the top left is the president of our university. But we basically now annually will go over and have our faculty and students dig, but also have alumni and friends and others of the university. One of my goals that Enrique doesn't know yet is for us to start annually having an English trip going, a Spanish trip going, and a Korean trip going to the Holy Land, because we have all of these languages represented in the Azusa Pacific Seminary family. Just to let you see the distance between our dig, way up the top, and Magdala, different names that we'll probably learn of how it's been known in history, possibly from Josephus, but the location right here, right by the Sea of Galilee, is Magdala. Now from the top picture to the bottom picture, when it comes to the excavation and what's coming out, is about 1,000 years, about a millennium. But I think this is a good time to turn it over to our guest today, give a brief intro of what we're going to hear later on. But I do want to welcome all of you and thank you so much. Again, my apologies for my Spanish being non-existent. But I do look forward to this being just a wonderful day where we let archaeology be something that brings us all together. So let me turn it over to our guest for this morning.
We've prepared a small video that is in Spanish, but with this video we want to introduce you with the general view about Magdala, why we are as a Mexican team in Israel working, and the most important discovery from 2010 until now, that we are a very young project. And this is the first time that the Israel Antiquities Authority give for Mexico a license to work and to have an archaeological area, complete the town, complete city. And in this video we want to give introduce you with small things, very important. And next, we want to explain more about a discussion, dialogue with you about Magdala. Magdala está ubicado en la costa noroeste del Mar de Galilea, al norte de Israel. Se ha identificado como la antigua ciudad de Magdala, o Migdal, por su nombre en arameo, y como Tariquea en griego, que hace referencia a su principal actividad económica, la pesca y la salazón de pescado, que de acuerdo con las fuentes, este pescado llegaba a todas las provincias, incluso hasta Roma, vía Cesarea Marítima. En los documentos históricos, Magdala aparece como un puerto con población judía desde el siglo I a.C. hasta el siglo IV después de Cristo. En la tradición cristiana, Magdala es el lugar de nacimiento de María Magdalena. Gracias a la evidencia arqueológica, se sabe hoy que la ciudad fue fundada durante el periodo helenístico. Continuó su ocupación hasta su esplendor durante el siglo I después de Cristo, o periodo del Segundo Templo. A partir del siglo II después de Cristo, la población y las áreas ocupadas en la ciudad disminuyeron, posiblemente como consecuencia de la revuelta judía y por el establecimiento de la ciudad romana de Tiberias. La custodia franciscana llevó a cabo las primeras excavaciones en la parte sur del sitio a principios del siglo XX. En agosto del 2009, arqueólogos de la Autoridad de Antigüedades de Israel descubrieron al norte del sitio la sinagoga del siglo I y la piedra de Magdala en una excavación de salvamento arqueológico, siendo este uno de los descubrimientos más importantes de Israel en 50 años. En el año 2010, se otorgó por primera vez a un equipo de especialistas mexicanos de la Universidad Anáhuac México Sur, en convenio con la UNAM, la licencia para realizar trabajos de excavación e investigación con la filial de la Autoridad de Antigüedades. Desde entonces se han excavado más de 4.000 metros cuadrados, de donde se ha recabado información de gran importancia para comprender la vida cotidiana del siglo I. Se han descubierto estructuras como casas habitación, el puerto antiguo, el mercado, zonas de producción de alimentos y almacenamiento y el área de los baños rituales.
Como profesora, siento mucho orgullo de ver que se ha pasado a mis alumnos como Marcela Zapata una tradición de trabajo sistemático, excavaciones extensivas, una perspectiva interdisciplinaria de aproximación al pasado y que se hace con excelencia. Lo más importante es legar una tradición de trabajo bien hecho que ponga en alto el nombre de México aquí en el extranjero.
Magdala es la última ciudad mencionada en el Evangelio que queda por ser excavada en la región de Galilea y es la última oportunidad para entender en su totalidad un pueblo del siglo I o periodo del Segundo Templo. Magdala is a very important site. It's important for the Jewish people and also for the Christian. When we start to work in the first, ¿cómo se dice? Etapa? Stage, thank you. We're thinking about, in archaeology, to make a question about what to know about the city, about this area. One of the first questions is if the Jewish people to live in Magdala was very religious, if also in Magdala live together Jews and Romans, and also if the Christian in after the destruction of the temple, the second temple, return to Galilee and live again in the area. And as a Christians, also we want to know if Jesus was in this synagogue, if it's true about the Mary Magdalene born in this town, and we have more questions about the life, about the deity, about the community, about the religious precept that the Jews observed in the first century. And all of these questions, now we have a little more information to give the general view about this city. But we have many meters to dig. I think this project needs will need to continue maybe for 20 or 25 years more. We have a huge land, and we're working just with the support with the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, the Autonomous National University in Mexico. They have in Mexico and also in other countries a great experience to work in archaeology. But for my university, for our university, Anáhuac México Sur, is the first time, and also Andrea and me, we are the only two archaeologists in all university. And it's very important for us to have this land and to have this project. And also it's a huge responsibility because as a Mexican, it's the first time to work in Israel. For Mexico also is very strange. The people ask me all the time, why you go to Israel if in Mexico you have many sites to dig. Why you go to Israel all the years and to dig and to stay in summer that is very hot? Why you don't go to the Maya area, to Oaxaca, to many sites that we have, and to dig in Mexico? And all the time I say, I love my country, I love my history, and I love work in Mexico as an archaeologist. But I think the Mexican now, in this moment, need for the Mexican people to show that we are in the same level that the other countries that usually dig in Israel, in Morocco, in Spain, in Iraq, Iran. And we need to show for the Mexican people that the Mexican, we are in the same position, in the same level. Please, if you don't understand me, ask me, because my English is not good, but yes? Okay. No. No, but you, no. For you, I speak in English, and I try to do the maximum. The best. Okay, Magdala, in the history, is has a very important role in the first century. And we know this because the sources, specifically Flavio Josephus, say that the Magdala, the people who live in Magdala, was very religious, and they push to the Roman troops to don't go to Jerusalem to destroy the Second Temple. And also Flavio Josephus say that in Magdala, the Roman and the Jews has a battle, revolt, and a war. And one of the questions is, if Flavio Josephus say this about Magdala, in archaeology we need to have the facts to evidence this war. And until now we don't have nothing to refer that this war take place in Magdala. And also Flavio Josephus says that Magdala was the most rich and important city around the Galilee. And we know that this is true. Magdala was very rich. The most important economic activity was the fish industry. And they take the fish and they sold the fish in the area. And also about the sources, we know that these fish they extend the fish the fish sold to Rome. In Rome, they know about the Tarikea. The name in Greek is Tarikea, and it's safe fish, pesca segura. And they know in Rome about Tarikea for the fish. And we now know that this is true because we have the industry area that the Magdala people use to have and to get the fish, fresh fish. We don't know have yet. I don't know if we, in some moment, we found this area. We don't have the area that they use to sold the fish. But we have the industry that they take fresh fish. And as a Jewish in Magdala was very religious, they observe the law, the Jewish law, and they know specifically how many times the fish we need to be in the water to be fresh and to cooking after. And also, Magdala is now for the Antiquities Authority that they say is the most important area the most important project in Galilee for the first century, because we have the synagogue, and this synagogue is the first synagogue around the lake for the first century that is complete. It's small, but it's complete, and also is very beautiful because it's possible to see the walls with frescoes, with colors, red, blue, yellow, and geometrical designs. Also, because we have, the synagogue have a small path with mosaic, and for the stone, the Magdala stone. And this is the first, the most ancient representation outside the second temple with the menorah. And we have the question if Jesus was in this synagogue. In the Gospels, we know that Jesus walking around the Galilee, all the Galilee, and he visited all the synagogues around the Galilee, teaching and speaking with the people, and also made some miracles. If you ask me if we have concrete facts or evidence about Jesus in Magdala, my answer is no. Archaeological evidence we don't have, but we have the Gospels, and we have the historical sources about Jesus in the area. And we know that it's impossible that the Jesus not visit Magdala. It's impossible. But we don't have the archaeological evidence. This part I say in Spanish. No hace mucho sacaron un reportaje sobre Magdala en un periódico en México que es muy amarillista, y entonces hablaba sobre el trabajo de los mexicanos en Israel en una manera un poco como de burla, justo diciendo qué hacen los mexicanos trabajando en Israel cuando aquí hay mucho que hacer, ¿no? Y decían en este periódico que mexicanos habían descubierto la calle por donde Jesús había caminado, pero con una certeza y con una evidencia. Y las críticas, obviamente, a esa nota y obviamente hacia nosotros era, wow, qué arqueólogos más maravillosos tenemos en México que van a Israel y descubren la evidencia que nadie ha descubierto, que es la calle por donde caminó Jesús. Y preguntaban si habíamos descubierto el ADN de Jesús, o que si incluso habíamos descubierto la chancla, perdón la expresión, el guarache, con el que Jesús caminó por esa calle. Entonces, cuando yo leí esa nota, pues por supuesto me enojé, bueno, la computadora casi la aviento, ¿no? Porque yo decía, la información que están diciendo, pues evidentemente no es la correcta. Podemos saber que Jesús estuvo en Magdala por las fuentes históricas, hasta ahorita, por las fuentes históricas judías y cristianas, pero arqueológicamente no tenemos una evidencia. Ahora, posiblemente Magdala nos dé, falta mucho por excavar, y nos dé algo más concreto sobre ese paso. Aquí lo que yo quiero como puntualizar, desde mi perspectiva, es que como arqueóloga mi obligación es decir, no tenemos ninguna evidencia arqueológica del paso de Jesús. Como cristiana, yo sí puedo decir que Jesús estuvo ahí. Y eso no compromete mi ser arqueóloga, mi ser científica con mi ser creyente, con mi ser cristiano. Pero siempre tratando de cuidar el dato arqueológico con lo que es la parte de la fe. The same, back to the English, the same is with the tradition about Mary Magdalene born in Magdala. We know about Mary Magdalene because is the name of Magdala in Hebrew, Migdal, means tower. In Greek is Tarikea, that means safe fish. And for the Christian source, we know that is Magdala because Mary Magdalene was born in this place. Also, the first pilgrims refers in the source that they visit Magdala and they saw the church that Saint Queen Helen built a church over the house of Mary Magdalene. At this moment, we don't have the house of Mary Magdalene. We don't have the church. But we have many evidence to confirm that the place that we are digging now is the same place that Mary Magdalene born and lived. And we know in the gospel that Jesus and Mary Magdalene and also the disciples of Jesus all the time walking around of the lake, and the ministry of Jesus start in the lake. In Capernaum, we have 5 or 6 kilometers the difference between Magdala and Capernaum. And in the Gospels say Jesus was in Capernaum. It's impossible to say Jesus, sorry, but Jesus not visit Magdala. No. We have many evidence to confirm that this is Magdala and this is the place that Mary Magdalene born in this area. Magdala, I think, have for us many information that is now underground, and we need just to start to continue with this project. And I think in the future, Magdala give more surprise for the Christians and also for the Jews. It's not important this area just for the Jews. It's important because in Magdala is the last opportunity around the lake to know the Jewish life in the first century in the lake, but also it's important to know the transition between the first Christians, the Jews, that they accept that Jesus was the Messiah and start to live as a Christian, but they continue with some traditions because they was Jewish, and they change and they start to live, and they in the time they change some traditions. This is the last city in Galilee for know more about this period of history and to know more about the first Christians in Galilee after the resurrection to Christ. Sorry. I don't know. I think this is the most important thing. I hope that you understand me in English and also, sorry, in Spanish. I don't know if Andrea want to complete something or Rosaura about this small introduction. Oh, for the time, I don't know how, okay. Okay, I don't know if you have questions about this video about my...
Can we visit the site?
Of course, it's open for all the people. to want to visit Magdala, and also is open for the people to want to join us and to dig with us.
We could do like a half a day if you have a tour over there.
Yes, of course. Magdala is open all the year for the pilgrim, for the tourist, and we have a small group of volunteers that help us all the years to give the tour, to explain for the people that visit us all the history and all the areas about Magdala. They help us also to clean the areas and to receive all the pilgrims and the tourists. And just in summer, we have the seasons to dig. It is start in June, and we finish in the end of July. We dig 2 months, the most beautiful season with the hot. But we have the lake a few meters, and all the people is invited to join us to work. I think this project give for us the opportunity to touch the history, our history, the Christian history, with our hands. And this is very important for all the people that they believe or not believe. I think to touch the history is very important. As a Christian, more important. Join us. Welcome. Yes, we can to be in touch with Carmeli to send all of the information about the dates and the seasons, and you can to write us or a través de Carmeli, y podemos dar toda la información para que ustedes puedan ir. Algo bien importante que no mencioné, que eso, y lo debo de agradecer públicamente, porque en algún momento dado esto que están grabando se escuchará y lo verá alguien más. Este proyecto se soporta solo por donaciones. We don't have a institution to give for us constant money to work. We just working with the volunteers, and they just pay for his stay. And we don't receive the money for the volunteers. We working just with con el corazón y las donaciones que de corazón la gente hace para Magdala. Y eso determina el tiempo de la excavación, de la temporada, y obviamente las posibilidades después de analizar materiales y demás. Nos movemos solamente con las donaciones, y como yo sé que esto después se va a pasar y se va a transmitir, pues es un agradecimiento para todos aquellos que han creído en este proyecto y que han hecho donaciones para que nosotros podamos seguir trabajando en Magdala.
I will say that what excites me about mornings like this and conversations like this is in a time in world history, particularly currently where we often hear talk about building walls, this is building bridges. When you think of the Middle East, a place that needs bridges built, when you think of between our different countries here in North and South America building bridges, this is what it's about. So archaeology can be something that can build these bridges between people when people don't know how to build bridges themselves. So this is a very exciting day for all of us. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zona, but thank you again for being here this morning. Make sure to take all the food with you too, so that we don't have all this leftovers. And then you give us directions on next steps.
Absolutely. Bueno, entonces un par de cosas. Nos queda tiempo todavía para poder cuidar todas esas, el café y las masas y todo. Así que en unos minutos los voy a despedir, y entonces ustedes van a poder ir ahí y hacer el ataque a ese lugar. Y de ahí tranquilitos vamos caminando hacia el auditorio principal, en donde estaremos escuchando las 3 ponencias a través de este día. Así que a no ser que haya alguna pregunta que quieran hacer, estoy listo ya para despedirlos y que vayan a tomar el cafecito y llegar a la reunión. Bueno, entonces lo que estamos haciendo, lo que decía el Dr. Duke, construyendo puentes. Azusa Pacific University ahora entonces está abriendo las puertas de la arqueología al mundo hispano. Pueden venir aquí, y aquí en una manera muy segura y positiva vamos a descubrir juntos aquel a quien imitamos y buscamos, al Señor Jesús. Vamos a poder caminar donde Él caminó. Vamos a poder experimentar la emoción y la alegría de María Magdalena, quien muy temprano lo encontró al Señor Jesús, pero no lo encontró porque el sepulcro estaba vacío. Una mujer que necesitaba, como algunos dicen, liberación. El Señor la tocó, la bendijo, la liberó y fue una de las mujeres más usadas por el Señor. Una mujer espectacular. Y nosotros tenemos ahora el privilegio de abrir las puertas y el pueblo hispano ahora tiene un lugar en donde puede venir y podemos descubrir juntos los lugares donde Jesús caminó. Así que de eso se trata, ¿verdad? Una experiencia espiritual, una nueva venida para determinar nuestra fe como la más positiva y la más especial. ¿Quién fue el que dijo, para que pueda entender, tengo que primero creer? Y eso es una verdad. Primero tengo que creer y después puedo razonar. Vamos a ir entonces juntos a Israel y vamos a investigar y a probar lo que creemos ya. Y es una manera muy importante de impactar nuestra vida y nuestro camino con el Señor. Así que con estas palabras ya los dejo para que puedan ir al ataque allá y nos vemos todos allá en el gran edificio que comienza a las 9 de la mañana. Muy bien, no hay ninguna pregunta porque esto es lo más cercano que la van a poder tener a las 3 arqueólogas. Tienen guardaespaldas y todo, así que bien protegidas todo el camino de ida y de vuelta, pero si hay alguna pregunta, este es el momento de hacerla. ¿Alguno tiene alguna pregunta de alguna clase? No son preguntones en esta mañana. Bueno, ya a medida que pasa el tiempo van a querer hacer preguntas. Muy bien, entonces, adelante, a comer y nos encontramos todos allá. Dios los bendiga esta mañana. Un aplauso a las arqueólogas.